What I'm about to show you will make you question everything you thought you knew about our planet. There are places on Earth so otherworldly, so impossible looking, that they seem like they belong in a science fiction movie. Right now, as you're watching this, there are beaches with pink sand that looks like cotton candy. There are underground cities that house 20,000 people, and there are cliffs so white and sculptural that they look like they were carved by aliens. These aren't just pretty pictures you scroll past on Instagram. These are real places with incredible stories that will change how you see the world. Some are disappearing forever. Others have been hidden from tourists for centuries. And a few, well, they're so remote that most people will never even know they exist. We've spent hours researching the most surreal places on Earth. Places that look otherworldly, but are 100% real. By the end of this video, you'll have a bucket list of destinations that will make your friends think you've discovered parallel universes. You'll also learn the hidden stories behind these places that even most travel guides don't know. Are you ready to be inspired? Imagine 3 giant bronze swords, each 30 feet tall, thrust into solid rock, overlooking a Norwegian fjord like monuments to ancient gods. Sverd, a fjell, or swords in rock, stands on the shores of Hafrsfjord near Stavanger, Norway. But these aren't just impressive sculptures. They commemorate the Battle of Hafrsfjord in 872, where King Harald Fairhair united Norway for the first time in history. Here's what most visitors don't realize. The 3 swords represent the 3 kings who fought in this legendary battle. The largest sword symbolizes the victorious Harald, while the 2 smaller ones represent the defeated kings. The sculptor Fritz Rudd designed them so they can never be removed from the rock, symbolizing peace and the end of the age of civil wars. But here's the truly mind-blowing part. The swords are made from bronze taken from actual Viking-era weapons, found in archaeological digs across Norway. So you're not just looking at a monument, you're looking at recycled Viking swords that once belonged to real warriors over 1,000 years ago. The location wasn't chosen randomly either. This exact spot is where the battle took place, making it a genuine historical site, disguised as modern art. Speaking of hidden histories beneath the surface, wait until you see this underground city. What if I told you there's an entire city 18 levels deep underground, complete with schools, churches, and wine cellars that could house 20,000 people? Welcome to Derinkuyu, in Turkey's Cappadocia region. This isn't just a cave system, it's a complete underground civilization that was carved entirely by hand from solid volcanic rock. The city goes down over 200 feet into the earth, with narrow tunnels connecting massive chambers that served as everything from stables to chapels. But here's what makes it absolutely incredible. The ventilation system still works perfectly after more than 1,000 years. Fresh air flows through over 15,000 air shafts, creating a climate control system that would impress modern engineers. Here's the part that blows historians' minds. Derinkuyu could be completely sealed from the inside, using massive circular stone doors that weighed over 1,000 pounds each. When under attack, the entire population could disappear underground and survive for months with stored food and underground water sources. The most shocking discovery: this isn't the only underground city in Cappadocia. There are over 200 similar cities connected by tunnels, creating an underground network that spans hundreds of miles. But if underground cities seem impossible, wait until you see what's hiding on an Italian mountainside. Picture a medieval castle that appears to float in mid-air above Lake Como, accessible only by a winding path that seems to lead straight into the clouds. The castle of Vezio in northern Italy looks like something from a fairy tale, perched impossibly on a rocky outcrop with 360-degree views of the Alps and Lake Como below. But this isn't just a pretty castle. It's a 1,000-year-old fortress that controlled one of the most strategic positions in medieval Europe. Here's what makes Vezio truly surreal. The castle was built on the site of an ancient Roman watchtower, but medieval engineers used an ingenious technique to make it appear to float. They built the walls to follow the exact contours of the rock, creating an optical illusion where the castle seems to grow directly from the mountain itself. But here's where legend meets mystery. Local folklore tells of Queen Theodelinda, the Lombard queen who supposedly built a secret tower here in the 6th century. According to legend, she would retreat to this floating sanctuary to commune with spirits and make prophecies that guided her kingdom. Some say on misty nights, you can still see her ghostly figure walking the ramparts. Local legend says the castle appears to move during certain weather conditions when low clouds make it seem like it's sailing through the sky. But if floating castles seem magical, wait until you see what Mexico has hidden underground. Imagine walking into a cave and finding yourself inside a natural cathedral made entirely of crystals the size of telephone poles. Mexico's Cave of the Crystals, located in the Nika mine, contains the largest natural crystals ever discovered on Earth. These aren't small, pretty crystals you'd find in a gift shop. We're talking about selenite crystals that are over 30 feet long and weigh more than 50 tons each. Here's what makes this discovery absolutely mind-blowing. The cave was completely filled with water for over 500,000 years, maintaining a constant temperature of 136 degrees Fahrenheit. This created perfect conditions for crystals to grow continuously, atom by atom, for 500,000 years. But here's the catch that makes it truly surreal. The cave is so hot and humid that humans can only survive inside for 10 minutes at a time, even with special cooling suits. The air temperature reaches 150 degrees with 100% humidity, making it more hostile than most places on Earth. The crystals are so large and perfectly formed that scientists initially thought they were fake. Some crystals are so clear you can see completely through them, creating a hall of mirrors effect that makes the cave seem infinite. Speaking of ancient wonders that defy explanation, wait until you see our next destination. What if there was an ancient fortress built on top of a rock formation so steep and isolated that it looks like it was placed there by giants? Lion Rock, or Sigiriya, in Sri Lanka, is a massive rock formation that rises over 600 feet straight up from the jungle floor. But this isn't just a big rock. It's home to the ruins of a 5th century palace complex that was considered one of the most advanced civilizations of its time. Here's what makes Sigiriya absolutely incredible. King Kasyapa chose this impossible location for his capital city and somehow managed to build gardens, fountains, and a palace complex on top of solid rock. The engineering required to pump water up 600 feet and create functioning gardens in the 5th century was so advanced that modern engineers still study the techniques. The most surreal feature? The rock is covered in ancient graffiti. Over 1,500 pieces of ancient poetry and commentary written by visitors over the past 15 centuries, making it possibly the world's oldest guest book. But here's the twist that gives you chills. The entire complex was abandoned after just 11 years when the king was killed in battle. The jungle reclaimed it so completely that it was lost for over 1,000 years. From ancient fortresses, we travel now to lakes that shouldn't exist. Imagine a lake so beautiful it looks like liquid flamingo, but so deadly that most animals that touch it turn to stone. Lake Natron in Tanzania is one of the most surreal and dangerous bodies of water on Earth. The lake's shocking pink and red colors come from salt-loving microorganisms that thrive in water so alkaline it can burn human skin on contact. Here's what makes Lake Natron truly otherworldly. The pH level is so extreme, nearly 11.5, that it's almost as caustic as ammonia. Animals that die in the lake become calcified, essentially turning into natural mummies that can be preserved for years. But here's the incredible paradox. Despite being one of the most hostile environments on Earth, Lake Natron is the only regular breeding ground for East Africa's lesser flamingos. Millions of flamingos flock here because the same deadly conditions that kill other animals create the perfect alkaline environment for the algae that flamingos eat. The most mind-blowing part, the lake's temperature can reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's constantly fed by underground springs rich in sodium carbonate. This creates a natural chemical factory that's been running for thousands of years, producing one of the most alien landscapes on our planet. Speaking of alien landscapes, let's travel to a place where ice meets volcanic sand. Picture a black sand beach covered in diamonds, where massive chunks of crystal-clear ice wash ashore like jewels scattered by giants. Iceland's Diamond Beach is where icebergs from the nearby Jökulsárlón Glacier Lagoon wash up on volcanic black sand, creating one of the most surreal contrasts in nature. But calling them icebergs doesn't capture their true beauty. These are massive chunks of thousand-year-old glacial ice, polished by the ocean until they're crystal clear. Here's what makes Diamond Beach absolutely magical. The ice chunks range from small gems you could hold in your hand to massive sculptures the size of cars, all scattered across jet-black volcanic sand. When sunlight hits these ice diamonds, they create a natural light show that changes constantly as waves move them around. The most incredible part, each piece of ice is completely unique, carved by wind, waves, and time, into one-of-a-kind sculptures that exist for just hours or days before melting back into the ocean. You're witnessing art that nature creates and destroys in real time. But here's the sobering truth. Climate change means the glacier feeding this beach is retreating rapidly. The Diamond Beach of today might not exist for future generations, making every visit a chance to witness something that's literally melting away. From ice diamonds to cliffs, let's make a journey to the edge of the world. Imagine standing on cliffs so remote and windswept that you feel like you're at the very edge of the earth, where ancient Celtic monks believed they could touch heaven. The cliffs of Meáin, in Ireland's Aran Islands, rise dramatically from the Atlantic Ocean. But these aren't just impressive rock faces. They're part of one of the most isolated and culturally preserved places in Europe, where Irish Gaelic is still the primary language and traditional ways of life continue unchanged. Here's what makes Meáin truly otherworldly. The island is crisscrossed by thousands of ancient stone walls built without mortar, creating a giant puzzle of limestone that's been pieced together over thousands of years. From above, the island looks like a massive work of abstract art carved into the ocean. The most surreal aspect, the island has no trees. Instead, it's covered in a unique landscape of limestone pavement called burren, where rare Arctic and Mediterranean plants grow side by side in the cracks between rocks. This creates combinations of flora that exist nowhere else on Earth. Early Christian monks chose this desolate beauty for one of Ireland's most important monasteries, believing that the harsh landscape brought them closer to the divine. But if isolated cliffs seem extreme, wait until you see what Italy has hiding on its coast. What if there was a beach where a massive natural arch frames the Mediterranean Sea so perfectly that it looks like a portal to another dimension? Italy's Arcomagno Beach on the Tyrrhenian coast features one of the most photographed natural arches in the world. But this isn't just a pretty rock formation. It's a geological miracle that creates a natural amphitheater where the sea becomes the stage. The arch was carved by thousands of years of wave action, but what makes it truly special is its perfect proportions. The opening frames the horizon so precisely that during sunset, the entire arch glows like it's lit from within, creating what locals call the eye of the sea. Here's what makes Arcomagno absolutely surreal. The beach can only be accessed by swimming through the arch or by rappelling down the cliff face. This natural barrier has kept it relatively secret despite its Instagram fame. Local fishermen have used this hidden cove for centuries as shelter during storms. The most incredible part? The arch is actually still growing. Marine erosion continues to widen the opening by millimeters each year, meaning the Arcomagno you see today is slightly different from the one that existed last year. Let's travel from natural arches to a place where sinkholes defy imagination. Imagine a perfectly circular hole in the earth so deep and wide that it has its own weather system and ecosystem that exists nowhere else on the planet. The Xiaozhai Tiankeng in China is the world's deepest sinkhole, plunging over 2,000 feet straight down with walls so steep they're almost vertical. But calling it a sinkhole doesn't capture its true majesty. This is a natural cathedral carved into the earth, so massive that it could hold the entire Statue of Liberty and still have room to spare. Here's what makes Xiaozhai absolutely mind-blowing. The sinkhole is so deep that it creates its own microclimate. The bottom stays cool and humid year-round, while mist often rises from the depths like smoke from the Earth's core. This unique environment has allowed plants and animals to evolve that exist nowhere else on our planet. The most surreal feature? At the bottom flows an underground river that connects to a vast cave system extending for miles beneath the Chinese countryside. Explorers have mapped over 8 miles of underground passages, and they believe they've only scratched the surface. Local legend says the sinkhole is a gateway between worlds, and when you see it in person with its walls disappearing into mysterious darkness below, it's easy to understand why. But if earthly sinkholes seem incredible, wait until you see Peru's Bridal Veil. Picture a waterfall so delicate and ethereal that it looks like a bride's veil floating in mid-air, cascading down red cliffs in one of the most remote corners of the Amazon. Peru's Waterfall of the Bride, or Cascada de la Novia, plunges over 800 feet down Vermilion cliffs in the Chachapoyas region. But this isn't just a beautiful waterfall. It's a natural wonder that appears and disappears based on seasonal rains, making it one of the most elusive waterfalls in the world. Here's what makes the Waterfall of the Bride absolutely magical. The water appears to float in the air as it falls, breaking into mist that creates rainbows in the Amazon sunlight. The red iron oxide cliffs provide a stunning backdrop that makes the white water look like lace against crimson silk. The most incredible part: the waterfall can only be reached by trekking through cloud forest for several days, passing ruins of the mysterious Chachapoya civilization known as the Warriors of the Clouds. These ancient people built cities in the clouds that were so well hidden the Spanish never found them. Local indigenous communities consider the waterfall sacred, believing it's where earth spirits cleanse themselves before ascending to the heavens. But wait until you see beaches that look like dessert. Imagine walking on a beach where the sand is bright pink, like someone scattered cotton candy across the shoreline, while Komodo dragons sunbathe nearby like prehistoric lifeguards. Komodo Island's pink sand beach in Indonesia is one of only 7 pink sand beaches in the world, but this one comes with a twist. You're sharing paradise with the world's largest living lizards, 10-foot-long Komodo dragons that can run 20 miles per hour and have a venomous bite. Here's what creates the surreal pink color. The sand gets its rosy hue from microscopic organisms called foraminifera, which have bright red shells. When these tiny creatures die, their shells mix with white sand and coral fragments, creating a natural pink paradise that shifts from pale rose to deep magenta, depending on the light. The most mind-blowing aspect: Komodo dragons often come to the beach to cool off in the ocean breeze, creating one of the most surreal wildlife encounters on Earth. Picture lounging on pink sand, while prehistoric dragons bask in the sun just a few meters away. But here's what makes it truly otherworldly. The dragons have lived on these islands for millions of years, essentially unchanged since the age of dinosaurs. You're not just visiting a pink beach, you're stepping into a living prehistoric world. Let's travel from pink beaches to white marble staircases. What if giants had carved a marble staircase directly into seaside cliffs, creating steps so perfect they look like they lead to heaven itself? Sicily's Scala dei Turchi, literally Stair of the Turks, is a natural wonder that defies explanation. This blindingly white cliff formation rises from the Mediterranean like a massive piece of abstract art, its limestone layers creating perfect steps that seem almost too geometrical to be natural. Most tourists think this is just a pretty cliff, but the name reveals a hidden history. Scala dei Turchi refers to the Turkish and Saracen pirates who used these natural steps as a landing point during their raids on Sicily. The pirates would climb these white stairs like a natural staircase to launch surprise attacks on coastal towns. Here's what locals know but guidebooks rarely mention. The cliff's surreal appearance comes from a rare type of limestone called Meáin, a sedimentary rock that's been carved by wind and salt water over millions of years. But it's also incredibly fragile. Climate change and rising sea levels are slowly eroding this natural masterpiece. Today, this otherworldly location gained international fame as a setting in Andrea Camilleri's popular Inspector Montalbano detective series, making it a pilgrimage site for mystery lovers worldwide. But if white cliffs are surreal, wait until you see what's hiding inside Portugal's coastline. Imagine kayaking through a tiny opening in a cliff face and suddenly finding yourself inside a natural cathedral with a private beach and an opening to the sky above. Portugal's Benagil Cave is perhaps the most photographed secret beach in the world, yet most people have no idea how to actually get there. This isn't your typical beach destination, it's a hidden grotto that can only be accessed by swimming, kayaking, or taking a boat through a narrow opening in the Algarve coastline. The cave's most stunning feature is its natural skylight, a perfectly circular opening in the ceiling that illuminates the golden beach below like a spotlight from heaven. When the light hits just right, usually around midday, the entire cave glows with an ethereal golden light that makes it look like the entrance to another dimension. Here's what tour companies don't tell you. The cave is actually part of a much larger network of sea caves, carved by Atlantic waves over thousands of years. Local fishermen have known about these caves for centuries, but Benagil only became famous after a single photograph went viral on social media in 2015. The cave's acoustic properties are so unique that local musicians sometimes perform impromptu concerts inside, with the curved walls creating natural reverb that makes even whispers sound magical. But Portugal's hidden beaches are nothing compared to what Mexico has been hiding. What if there was a beach so secret that you literally cannot see it from the outside? A beach that exists inside a hidden crater, accessible only through an underwater tunnel. Mexico's Playa Escondida, known as Hidden Beach, is located on the Marianas Islands and represents one of nature's most incredible accidents. This isn't just a secluded beach, it's a beach that exists inside a collapsed volcanic crater, creating a natural amphitheater with its own private sky. The beach was formed when the Mexican military used the uninhabited islands for bomb testing in the early 1900s. One of those explosions created a hole in the island's crust, and over decades, ocean waves carved out the underlying sand and rock to create this hidden paradise. Here's the twist that blows most people's minds. You can only reach this beach by swimming or kayaking through a water tunnel that's only accessible at low tide. Miss your window and you're literally locked out of paradise until the next tide cycle. Today, this accidental creation has become so popular that Mexico had to limit access to protect the fragile ecosystem. Only 116 people per day are allowed to visit, making it one of the world's most exclusive beach destinations. These places prove that our planet still holds secrets that seem too incredible to be real. What you've just discovered aren't just travel destinations. They're proof that Earth still holds mysteries that challenge our understanding of what's possible. From pirate staircases to invisible beaches, from underground cities to floating castles, these places exist at the intersection of natural wonder and human story. Here's what changes everything. These surreal places aren't accidents of nature or tourism marketing. They're the result of millions of years of geological processes combined with human history, creating destinations that couldn't exist anywhere else in the universe. They're as unique as fingerprints and just as irreplaceable. You now have insider knowledge of places that most travelers will never experience. But more importantly, you've learned that the most incredible destinations aren't always the most famous ones. Sometimes the most surreal places are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look deeper. Climate change, over-tourism, and natural erosion mean some of these places won't exist as we know them in 20 years. Scala de Turchi is already showing signs of erosion. Hidden Beach's access is increasingly restricted. These aren't just destinations, they're time capsules that won't be around forever. The next time someone shows you a photo that looks too incredible to be real, remember this: our planet is far more surreal than any science fiction movie. The question isn't whether these places exist, it's what other impossible destinations are still waiting to be discovered. You're now part of the few who know about these hidden wonders. Which one would you visit first? The world's most incredible destinations are often discovered by travelers like you, who refuse to accept that they've seen everything our planet has to offer.